lived an old man called Hamaguchi. He was very wise, and the natives loved and respected him. Hamaguchi was a rich farmer. His house stood on the hillside high above the seashore. Down by the shore and scattered up the hill were the houses of the villagers. All around Hamaguchi's house were his rice fields. It was harvest time, and the fields were dotted with hundreds of rice stacks. There had been a fine crop, and tonight, down in the village, the people were celebrating. Hamaguchi sat outside the house with his grandson Tada. He could see the colorful paper lanterns and flags and the people gathering for the dance. He could have liked to be there too, but he was tired and the day had been hot. Though it was still quite warm, a strong breeze began to blow in from the sea. Suddenly, the hillside shook just a little. The house rocked gently for a moment. Then, all was still again. An earthquake! Hamaguchi whispered to himself. Though he was not frightened, he was little worried. He looked anxiously towards the village. Then he stood up and looked out at the sea. It was very dark, and it seemed to be running away from the land. The villagers too noticed the water rolling out, and they hurried towards the beach. They had never seen such a thing before. For a few minutes, Hamaguchi just stood and looked. Then he called out to his grandson, "Tada, Tada, quick! Light me a torch!" Tada ran into the house. He picked up a pine torch, lighted it, and ran back to his grandfather. The old man grabbed the torch and hurried to the rice fields. He ran along the rows of rice stacks, setting them on fire. As they were dry, they burnt quickly. Soon, flames and smoke towered into the sky. Tada was puzzled. What had happened to his grandfather? Why was he burning the rice that was their food? What would they eat? The bell ringer in the temple on the top of the hill saw the flames and set the big bell booming. Down on the beach, the people turned and looked. Hamaguchi's rice stacks were on fire. They had to help him. They began to climb up the hill. First came some of the young men. They wanted to put out the fire at once, but Hamaguchi stood in front of the fields and held out his hands to stop them. The whole village was coming up now, but Hamaguchi would not let anyone help him. "Let the stacks burn! Let them burn!" he said. The people began to question Tada. What happened? Why couldn't his grandfather let them fight the fire? "I don't know," sobbed Tada. "Grandfather set fire to the rice field on purpose. I saw him do it." "Is that true?" they asked Hamaguchi. "Yes, it's true," he said. "Now, is everyone from the village here?" "Yes, we are all here, but we don't understand." "Look!" shouted Hamaguchi as loud as he could, pointing to the sea. "Look!" They all turned and looked towards the sea. It was coming to the shore. It seemed to roll forward. It came nearer and nearer. It was like a great ball moving towards them. "The sea!" shrieked the people. They had hardly spoken when the waters struck the shore. The noise was louder than any thunder. The hillside shook as the giant waves dashed against it. When the water went back, not a house was left. The whole village had been swept away. The people stood silent. They were too frightened to speak. Then Hamaguchi said gently, "That is why I set fire to the rice. My house still stands, and there is room for many. The temple on the hill stands. There is shelter there for the rest." The villagers then realized